Welcome to the Married in Real Estate Show. In this show, we highlight amazing power couples working in real estate together. And today our special guest is Chris and Taylor Feamster. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, guys. We're so excited to have you.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So, you guys, we're recently just met you at a Home First event, and Home First Lightning, right, with Zach and you guys are such an amazing couple, and we'd love to just kind of highlight you guys today and have you share with us a little bit about your background. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you did before real estate and how it all started?
Taylor?
Okay. So, when Chris and I actually, we met at the gym back in 2012. And something I think that was really interesting was that he and I could really relate to each other from our childhood experiences and a lot of the adversity we had faced in our lives. And so while our stories personally are very different, we had a lot of things that we overcame that we really related to each other on. And I think that helped us really form a pretty deep bond early on, because I think once you find someone who has experienced some of the same challenges as you really bond over that stuff pretty quickly. So, when I met Chris, I was 19. I was starting to go to college. I had grown up with my grandparents who were entrepreneurs. So I kind of made my way into college because I think a lot of people think that's just kind of what you're supposed to do while you figure things out. And, I quickly realized that college wasn't for me. I was good in school, but I didn't have any passion. I really lacked direction of where I wanted to go. So while Chris and I were dating, I told him, I was like, I'm going to get my real estate license. Do you want to do it with me? And that was kind of where everything we have today, that was kind of where it started.
Wow, what a beautiful story. Chris?
Your turn.
Yeah, my turn. So, to Taylor's point, we both have our own stories in terms of the things we overcame through our childhood and our past and whatnot. And so working through that, I was a serial entrepreneur, varying success, most often not successful, but I kept trying. And so in my last endeavor prior to real estate, I owned a distribution business for a couple of years, had grown that to a couple hundred accounts, so selling to Walmarts and convenience stores, grocery stores throughout Central Florida. Had a few employees, and for one reason or another, we decided to stop doing that. It wasn't something I enjoyed at all. Really just trying to figure out my way in the world, if you will. And to Taylor's point, she suggested that she was going to get her license, and did I want to take the test? And I thought, what the hell? I might as well give it a shot. And so we got licensed together in 2015, and the rest has been history since then.
Now, you talk about, because I've been following you in social media, that you had a challenging past. And would you share a little bit about what you came from and how you arrived to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I'll go first this time. So, I grew up in South Florida, and, my early childhood didn't grow up in the best part of town. And my sixth grade year, so I went through all the way to the fifth grade, and I made it, if that makes sense. Sixth grade was not a good deal for me. It was in a predominantly, let's just say I was a minority in my school. It was about 3% of the school was white. I'm a big dude, so I got picked on a lot, had a lot of issues. And I got in a ton of fights when I was a kid. I spent more time out of school from suspensions than in school. I fought teachers, kids. So I failed the sixth grade because I was absent too much from suspensions. My second time in the sixth grade, I got expelled from school. I got sent to a new school and was expelled from that school in about a month. It was just a rough childhood, the area that I was in, the things that I was going through. So I got sent out in Utah when I was 13, and I was out there for just over 2 years. So I spent 2 years in Utah on a ranch as a program for, kids that are going through struggles. And so basically the entirety of what would be middle school for me, I lived on a ranch and, worked as a little bit of childhood slave labor. If, it is what it is. And then
Was that a good experience, or what was that experience like being on a ranch like that? And you mentioned slave labor. It sounds like it was not a good experience.
So, it's interesting. I was told I was going to summer camp, which is kind of initially that, my mom said, "You're going to go to summer camp." And I was like, "The hell I am." Like, I'm not going to summer camp. I wasn't like a great kid by any stretch. The environment was bad and my attitude was matched it. I said, "I'm not going to summer camp." And they, being from West Palm Beach, I had no experience with horses, cows, any of that kind of stuff. And they showed me a brochure. And it's like, "Oh, look, there's sheep, there's cows, horses, there's all this cool cowboy stuff." I was like, "That's kind of cool. I'll go check it out for the summer." And when we got there, my mom started crying. I was like, "Oh, this isn't summer camp." So when she left, they were basically like, "Yeah, this isn't summer camp. Give me your bag, go." And so it started as a bad experience. I was pretty bitter. I didn't talk to my mom or my stepdad for maybe 15 months or so. They were writing letters. I just was pissed off at them. And it ended up being, I never met my dad. I never had that father figure growing up. And so there were two guys that kind of took me under their wing, really made me a lot tougher. Were the first time I ever had that father figure. So today, as an adult, I can look back at a lot of my work ethic came from there. A lot of the things, my resilience came from there. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can attribute to my time there. As a kid, I didn't think it was a good experience. They definitely worked us for free. But it's something that, as a kid from South Florida, I never would have gotten to work on a ranch and live in that environment, ride horses. And, it was a lot of labor that they got for free. And there were some bad parts. Those programs all got shut down for child abuse. A handful of years ago, there was about 14 of them all owned by the same people. And, there was definitely some child abuse going on when I was there and some stuff. I'm a big dude, so maybe I was, that didn't happen to me, but it definitely happened. And, but I'm thankful, my perspective is through all the things that I've been through. I'm thankful for all of it because it allows me today to see the positive in things and to be more solutions oriented. Anytime we come across a problem, the first thing I think about is, how do I solve this problem? How do we get around the problem? I don't focus on the problem for very long. And that comes from that part and, the continuation of my story. So in the moment, it was a bad experience, but in hindsight, I'm very thankful that it happened.
Wow. So you had to, during that time, develop some kind of coping strategies to get you through that, I imagine, and being solutions oriented, keeping you focused on how to survive, how to be resilient, right? I don't know, you look back on that and you're somewhat thankful, even though it sounds like it wasn't the best situation, but it disrupted that behavior, I imagine, that you came from. For whatever it's worth. I mean, I don't know if that was the best course to take, but it seems like it stopped that behavior that you had, that you were coming from, that your mom had hoped would probably help you in your future. Is it something that you would recommend to parents who are going through a tough time with their children, who don't know what to do? Or are there better solutions, do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, there's definitely better solutions out there. It's interesting. It disrupted for a brief period of time. When I got up here, they wanted me out of South Florida. They thought I was going to end up dead down there. So we ended up coming here. And, for the first year in high school, I was a pretty good kid. I didn't cuss. I didn't do anything. But then, you go through your entirety of what's supposed to be middle school, where you really, as a child, you kind of learn a lot of social skills, a lot of things. And I didn't have any of that stuff. So I went to high school. And my first year in high school was good, but I dropped out. And, got involved in drugs and a lot of, bad stuff. And, I had my run-in of arrests and I got right back into as a 16-year-old up until I was 21, making really bad decisions in and out of jail and doing dumb stuff. And, that's a whole other conversation. So I definitely think there's better. I would say that, yeah, in my experience, just pay more attention to your kids, right? Listen a little bit more. I think there's better opportunities for growth. It worked out for me, but there's a lot of kids that were there that didn't work out for them. Mm-hmm. So there's maybe 3 or 4 of us that, kind of took that and changed our lives. You can look back and we're successful. Not everybody's like that. You know, it was really a place, a lot of people sent their kids just because they didn't want to raise their kids. You know what I mean? It was a substitution for it, but it is what it is. I look at it, and when I tell stories, they're good. I learned a lot. I learned how to ride a horse, which I've never done since, but I learned a lot of things, so it's all good.
So you come out of the ranch. How old are you?
15.
15 years old. And so you're moving on into high school. How is that experience for you in high school now, moving forward?
Yeah, it was wild. I wasn't a minority anymore, so that was interesting. Played football, decent at it, and it's just a totally different world. You know, I wasn't prepared for.
But hold on. So, by the way, just explain how were you minority, because I'm not catching that part of it, and so explain for the viewers also, like how did you feel like you were the minority?
Well, even if you look it up now, the school that I went to in South Florida, I think about 3 to 5% of it's Caucasian. The rest is Black and Hispanic. And it's in South Florida, it's a lot different than it is here. Here, everybody's like, in my experience, racism isn't prevalent here. Everybody's very, very much blind to that. But in South Florida, it's not like that. And so, being a white guy, being a bigger guy, it was a problem. You know what I mean? It's real, right? And so coming here, I was just a big white dude. Like, everybody just treats everybody the same. Okay. And so I didn't have that feeling that I had when I was in South Florida. I didn't have to fight. I was popular, which I wasn't when I was a kid. So it was part of my issues. I didn't know how to deal with it. You know, parties when you're in high school, parties are real. Taylor was in high school and dealt with parties, but she, was able to navigate through that. For me, it became my persona, right? I got the popularity thing started happening, which I had never experienced before. And drinking and partying made you the in crowd, if you will. And I loved the hell out of that. I was like, well, this is great. I never experienced this before. One thing led to another. Drinking led to this, led to that, led to that. Next thing you know, I got kicked out of school, dropped out, and there's a lot that came after that. A lot of bad decisions, being around the wrong people, and like I said, in and out of jail, and I've had my house raided. My house was raided. I got taken to jail. I've been in solitary confinement for a month. I just made a lot of bad decisions. I've experienced a lot of hardships. But that's part of where why we are where we are today, I believe.
And so talk to us about that, because I see somebody who's had a hard childhood, who then you're now moved into high school, you're the popular in crowd, you're partying, making these bad decisions, in and out of jail, like you say. And now you're a successful agent. So, like, wow, where did that change? What happened in that transcourse that brought you to where you are today? Because there had to be a moment, I imagine, where you had to be at some kind of low, where you had that aha moment where you're like, I have to change. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there's a lot of defining moments, right? There's levels to it, just like in life. As you reach levels of success, you continue to level up. And it was the same thing for me, kind of righting my wrongs, if you will. I spent a month in solitary confinement, and when I was there, I had a lot of time to think, because I was, in a room smaller in this office by myself for a month. And so I had a lot of time to process and think, and that was the first step I took towards making good decisions. I will say I made less bad decisions, not necessarily good decisions. I eliminated some of the people out of my life, the really bad stuff I was doing. I eliminated those people, but I was still partying, doing drugs and all that kind of stuff. I just wasn't hanging around such rough people, if that makes sense. And then, a year or so later, my house got raided, and that was an experience. And when I realized, it was kind of wild. I had a dream when I was laying in the like the holding cell where they were processing me. I was there for about 48 hours before I got booked out, and I was dreaming. And a dream that I walked home from the jail, and the dream had come to reality. I dreamt that I had walked into my duplex at the time where I was living, and I went in my closet, and there was a pound of weed in there. And when I got home, it was true. I walked down the hallway, walked in my room almost as I had, almost verbatim how I dreamt it. And I opened this box, and there it was. And it was really kind of strange. And I was a little freaked out at that point. When the SWAT team, comes in your house in the middle of the night, and they've got masks on, and, the whole sights on the guns. And it was a pretty wild experience. I realized, like, you're pretty close to, things really going wrong for you. So I broke that thing up into as small pieces as I could, and I flushed that thing down the toilet chunk by chunk. And I found out years later that the guys that were living with me actually were the ones that told on me and got my house raided, because the guy I was working out with at the gym knew the whole story, and there's no way, nobody knew that except for the guys that were there. So that was another phase of, like, wow, you need to really get your life together. And there were several phases, meeting Taylor. Took that last piece, the wild party guy. I was living in New Orleans at the time when Taylor and I met, and I was just back here for a period of time in between some stuff. And meeting Taylor and realizing that I really kind of wanted to slow down a little bit and start doing some things. My stepdad was, for the latter part of his life, was an alcoholic, and he passed away in 2011 from his alcohol addiction. And he died on our kitchen floor. And I'm an only child, and my mom, she's super important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when he passed away, it left her in a real bad spot financially. And that was like the piece for me where I was like, done partying, I'm done with the drinking, I'm done with everything. Like, there was phases of all these things. And then, matched with Taylor, who never got to meet him, but was there, on the back end of that. I just realized that, I wanted to take care of my mom. I had to take care of my mom. And so trying to come out of that and get a job, nobody wanted to hire me, right? I would go through 3-4 interview processes. They do the background check. They're like, yeah, we're never calling that guy back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I got my real estate license, I took my course in November, and I wasn't allowed to get my license until March, because I had to go in front of FREC and basically tell them my life story.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me the opportunity to get my license, and I walked down the parking garage. I called my mom. I cried a little bit, and because it was really hard. My girl Taylor was working 2 jobs. When my distribution business failed, I had to sell my SUV to survive. I bought a $600 van from Taylor's grandfather, who owned some feed stores here locally. And we were driving that thing around, pretty humbling experience. And Taylor was working 2 jobs. I couldn't get a job. So she's supporting us, making it, keeping things afloat. I had my mom on my mind I needed to take care of. Taylor, who, was taking care of me, which was a weird, experience.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. What's your thought process during all of that? Because, like, I'm hearing you that all the facts, right? So you've reached rock bottom. Your dad has passed away right there in the house. Things are going bad. Your friends, ratted you out, and so you're in and out of jail, and now you're finally given this opportunity. And so I'm just kind of tell me what you're thinking in your mind, in your head, as you're coming out of this, thinking, I want to do better. So I'm imagining that's what you're doing. I'm changing my friends. Like, what's your thought process during that time?
Yeah, I mean, that was a progression. Those thoughts had manifested for such a long time. I had changed my friends, my surroundings, what I was doing. I was living in New Orleans working there's parts of the story. I ended up getting back. I was like 380 pounds. I ended up getting back in shape. I walked on at Eastern Kentucky University for football. I went back, I got my ACT. I got my GED, took my ACT, went back to college for a brief period of time. And much like Taylor, realized it wasn't for me. But in that process, I learned some validation happened. I had a 4.0 GPA at Eastern Kentucky, was inducted into the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. which was cool as a kid with a GED as a dropout. You know, I went to the 5th grade, went to the 9th grade, and that was kind of my, that was my deal. So there's a lot more inside of the story where the mindset had shifted. But when I got the license, for me, it wasn't time to think anymore. It was just time to do. And so I was done processing. I just needed to get to work. And so, and Taylor, to her point earlier, she's got her story as well, which is super powerful. And we spent a lot of time together working through all that stuff, the emotions of it, and like how to move through life and own our stories, etc. So when I got the license, when Taylor and I got licensed, we knew it was time to get to work, and that's what we did. We just, that's for me personally, all I needed was a shot. And that's why this business is super important to me. And, growing our team here, our agents know that their future means everything to us because we've been where they are, and most oftentimes we've been in a worse situation than they are. And what we've been able to do in the last handful of years, is relatable.
Wow, Chris, that's pretty amazing, man. From dropping out of high school to getting your GED, going back to college, doing your SATs, congratulations on that 4.0. That's like that right there is your story, And I guess my question to you, Taylor, is where were you in all this? I know that you were towards the end. Tell us a little bit about how you felt when you were going through all those moments and those times.
So I had no idea. Chris is 8 years older than me. So I didn't know Chris or even have any opportunity to know him during the time of life where a lot of those bad decisions were being made. And so when I met Chris, I actually, when I picked him up from the airport, when that was like the beginning of our relationship, really, at that time, my dad and some other family members of mine had actually been arrested for a very large drug sting that had happened in our local town. And so, it was front page of the daily commercial. My family was kind of going through this damage control kind of situation. You're embarrassed, you love your family. It's my father. And so when Chris and I were talking that night, we just went right into the thick of it, and he just told me his story. So I knew all these things, and I had always seen more in Chris than he saw in himself. And so I just always taken the approach of like, all right, if I keep pushing him to talk about his story and to embrace it, that wow, look at all these changes he's made, and push him to where he'll use his story to propel him forward versus holding him back, which I think is what we all do. We think we're defined by the choices we've made or the environments we come from or our past decisions. I just kind of always kept that faith that I knew if he could get past that point, and as I would grow from my own baggage and struggles, that we could end up being this really powerful team. And so, it wasn't easy, during the time when I was working 2 jobs and Chris couldn't get a job and he was day trading and all these things. I think he really struggled as a man, to wanting to be the provider, wanting to be that person, that he talked about, wanting to be for his mom, wanting to take care of me. And so we really struggled through that time of like, I was just being a team player. And for me, it was like, this is what I want to do, right? Like, I'm not even second guessing it because I see the potential in our relationship. I see the potential in you. I see the potential in me. And I just knew that it came down to taking action steps and just those small steps, and we would eventually get there. But, it was hard along the way, trying, me being young, I was 19, and, being, as I aged throughout that process, it helped me to better understand, but it wasn't easy. We went through a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of hard stories, a lot of fun stories, things that we can laugh about now. But I've just always taken the approach of being a good team player and keeping my eye on what I want and allowing that to motivate me to get through whatever I have to get through to get what I want. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. And I think that the timing probably was right as Chris is going through these hard times and he's frustrated, probably just wanting to change, and having you who sees more in him than he sees in himself, that combination of having that support, I think, is probably what brings you, in a way, brings you closer together, right? And I think challenges have a way of either bringing people together or bringing them further apart, right? Because it's through those times that you get to see who is really in it for the long haul, right? Whose heart is really committed to the relationship, and whether they're going to stick it out with you through thick and thin. And if you're going to be there likewise for that person as well. And I think it's what really kind of solidifies those bonds sometimes. So you talk about you had some of your own issues, Taylor. Talk to us. Tell us a little bit about what you came from, and help us understand that and get to know you a little bit more.
So really, I had two great parents. They just got caught up in making wrong decisions and not being able to escape drug addiction, alcohol addiction, a lot of different types of abuse. And so I was, at an early age, I was split up from my two half brothers. I went to live with my grandparents. My mom and my father split up. My mom moved away. At that time, that was the best decision for her to get out of, the town and the community that she had been in that was leading her down the wrong road. And so I went and lived with my father's parents who raised me. And, it was just, a lot of people looking from the outside in. My grandparents are successful business owners. They own multiple businesses. They've got everything, what seems put together, right? But as a child, as much as I love my grandparents and I owe them everything in the world, and I'll always feel that way, as a little girl, I wanted my parents to be together. I wanted to figure out what could I do to make them be together, right? And how could I fix everything? So at an early age, I kind of just adopted these habits of trying to be the best at whatever it is, whether it's sports or academics or whatever. And I had this idea that if I could just be the best, they would show up for me, they would get back together, my life would turn around, everything would be normal. And as I grew up, I realized that I wasn't the reason for the issue or the solution for my parents' issues, for them to figure things out. But it's hard growing up that way, having a broken family, dealing with my mom not being around, missing out on a lot of my events, from getting my first boyfriend to going to homecoming to making the cheerleading team or, pageants and, things that, you look around and you want certain people to be there in those moments and just not having that. But, having my grandparents there. But, at the end of the day, I wanted my parents to be around. So all of those things, throughout my life, dealing with, abandonment issues, becoming a perfectionist, becoming a control freak, because I knew at an early age that once I was 18, right, I would be in control of my life. I was just always put into situations that were out of my control, whether good or bad, who I was living with, where I was staying, whatever the case. And so, as an adult now, I can look back and I'm really thankful for my childhood the way that it was. I'm a mom now. And so what I've learned is that I'm doing a lot of healing by being the mother to my daughters that I didn't necessarily have. So that's really awesome to kind of have all that come full circle and to really embrace that healing process. Because, I think that our childhoods are a big part of what makes us who we are. But I also think that if we don't learn how to embrace our experiences for a positive and figure out how to use those for our purpose in life, I think that it can hold us back. So I think we've both really been experiencing kind of healing, and embracing each other, because we both have abandonment issues with our, how we've grown up. So understanding each other that, hey, he and I aren't going to bail out, and leave each other. And things are going really good for us.
That's really awesome, man, because you're able to live, what you always wanted through your daughter. So that's amazing, man,
Well, and people sometimes use
That
the
healing.
excuses of the hardships from their past to say, well, this is why I'm not a good parent, or this is why I'm not successful in life. This is why I'm not achieving my dreams or my goals, because blaming,
Your past.
everything in your past. When there's people who are resilient, who learn from it and say, you know what, how are we going to move forward from here? How are we going to grow from this? And learning from those experiences and committing yourselves to be different, right? To be that parent that you didn't have, to give that love that you didn't receive. And so even though you may not have gotten it the way you wanted it, but you're giving it to your family moving forward, so that they can have a better chance than you did, right? So you can have that love, that fulfillment, and provide that life. So I think that's such a beautiful thing that you guys were resilient and able to grow from that. So now, moving forward, you're working together. Tell us about getting started in real estate, and tell us a little bit about where you're at today with team production. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
I'll start at the beginning and you can catch them up to speed. But so when we started back in 2015. Chris and I started a local brokerage here. Against my better judgment, Chris spent our last, $700?
$900.
He spent our last $900 on purchasing Realtor.com leads. At that time we were selling things out of our house to make ends meet. I was still, bartending. We were sharing a car. So, Chris is he's much more of a risk taker than I am. And so I was very much against that little bit of security that I knew that we had. And Chris pretty much told me, listen, we can spend the money now or the money's going to be gone in a couple of weeks, and I just said, okay, I trust you. And spent the money. He got some leads. He started showing houses, got his first house under contract. My grandmother actually gave me my first listing. It was a little piece of land that I got under contract with the neighbor. So it was a super quick process. And as we were moving through our transactions, I was talking to Chris one day and I was like, hey, how's the appraisal, inspections, all these things? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? Like, there's these very important parts of the transaction. How is yours going? And he was like,
I was just waiting to collect a check. I was like, what do you mean they signed? Like, it's 3 weeks before we get paid.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? An appraisal? I'm not an appraiser. Like, that's their job.
Right.
Listen, Chris is like, I put the deal together. That's all I'm doing.
I'm just waiting for the check. Like, what's up?
So we
that.
learned it was in that moment that we were like, okay, we got to work together here. I'm a details person. He's not. So I was like, okay, moving forward, you're going to go out, show the houses, bring the contract in. I'm going to take it from contract to close. And we started doing that. I quit my job. We went all in on real estate, and our team we grew very organically in the beginning. And that was really the foundation. Making those decisions at that time was the foundation for everything that we have now. We've built our team now based on he and I's working relationship then, and figuring out what items need to come off of an agent's plate that can allow for them to spend their time back out showing properties, working with buyers, working with sellers, higher income producing activities. And that's really what's gotten us to where we are today, which is way different than back in 2015.
So tell me a little bit about where you at today, like as far as team size, production. What are we talking right now?
So there's about 35 of us total, agents and staff, and this year we'll end up somewhere around 415 transactions, about 112 million. Our first 8 months we did 28 transactions. Taylor and I, our second year we did 50, and then I wanted the world right then, so I started a construction company. Taylor got a mortgage license. We started a mortgage division, and we opened our own brokerage, all in our second year in the business. A little aggressive. And so we did that for 3 years. Learned a ton. We built a substantial amount of houses. We won a bunch of awards here at the Parade of Homes. Won best in class, all different categories. All 3 years we were building houses. 2019, we shut down the mortgage deal. I sold my interest in the construction company, and we shut our brokerage down and moved to EXP. We just tried to do too many things too quickly. It was pulled in too many different directions. We didn't have our infrastructure built out properly. We didn't have the right leadership in place. My involvement in the construction company basically removed me almost entirely from the real estate company. Taylor, we had our first child, and and we had a second child, and so there was a lot of pregnancy happening in there, a lot of babies happening in there, which makes it a little hard to, that's a little bit of a life disruptor. She's writing mortgages at the time. We had a lot going on. It was, I actually had hair when all that started. And now she paints my hair on with a brush on Saturdays. It was a good time. So in 2019, we just decided, you know what, if we're going to do this thing, we were doing 100 and some deals. If we're going to really do this thing, we had a lot of clarity on what we did right, what we did wrong. And we decided that, the things that we wanted, I recognized very early on the opportunities that exist inside of a real estate transaction, which is kind of cool. The way that Taylor and I started, her doing paperwork, me doing the sales part, we didn't know what I didn't even know what a contract was, if I'm being real. So I didn't know what a team was. We didn't understand all that stuff. We just kind of went with intuition, with that structure and the companies that we started, which is cool because when you see that your intuition actually matches what like reality, and today what my understanding of the market is much different, or the industry rather, it's pretty cool to see how much similarity exists. So we just decided in 2019, listen, we got to go all in on this real estate company, go back full force on that. And so our first year with EXP, we did 165 deals. And this year we'll do 400 and change. And so, we're back all in on real estate for this year and last year. And next year we've got some bigger targets. We're going to open another office in maybe in the Orlando market somewhere. We bought a building in 2019, January 2020. We bought a building, and we've outgrown it. We've got people all over the place. It's kind of crazy. And so we're in the process of trying, working on buying a new building right now and leasing this building out. And so life's good. We've got an investment division. We've got a little mortgage thing going, stepping back out, forming a partnership in the construction space. In the process, we've got some other, we're approaching the ancillary side of the business, and growing. And what's really cool is we've got a ton of stories on our team from agents who came in who were struggling when they got in real estate, and they're making six figures, multi-six figures, and these are people that never made that kind of money in their lives.
How awesome is that? So hold on. So I love this story because you come from a troubled past, childhood that's, completely troubled. You're in and out of jail, partying, drugs, and now you decide, I'm going to change my life. You guys meet, you start working towards that together. You're struggling a little bit, and now you have this massive explosive growth. And what would you say contributed to that growth? Because you're in real estate, you're doing, your transactions, and you're all over the place, and now all of a sudden you have clarity. What brought that clarity?
I was having a lot of fun. Like, I've always been an entrepreneur. I was an illegal entrepreneur before. My entrepreneur skills were sharp when I was younger. I had less regard for the law because I was an idiot. And so I was having a lot of fun. I saw the opportunity to build something. I love critical thinking. I love to grow. I love to build. I love to look at problems and apply solutions. The piece around the team, it was a couple different things. After we sold 50 houses in our second year, I really thought about, like, what's next? I'm going to sell 80 houses, going to sell 100 houses. Like, we worked super hard to sell 50 houses. We didn't have any processes. We had an assistant. And I just realized that I didn't want to do that forever. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to do this again. We need to start building out a team. We need to start replacing ourselves. And so as we started to do that, for me personally, I really found a passion for helping other people. I got to apply the hardships that I've been through and the short amount of success that we had at that time. We were making decent money, which was more money we'd ever made in our lives at that time. And what I found was the first agent that joined us, he's still with us today. He's our guy. He didn't have a lot of money. He was kind of trying to figure it out. And his life has changed completely. And I really, for me personally, I found a lot of satisfaction in that. It really resonated with me. I was like, man, this is cool. There was an agent in our office at the time that was a single mom, and she had a little picture frame on her desk, and it was a picture of her kids, and she's like, the reason I'll succeed in real estate, right? And I was told at the time, like, basically don't interfere with the general brokerage agents. Like, don't bring them onto our team because the split would be different, the income to the brokerage would be different. And that really kind of bothered me. I was like, well, that's bullshit. You know, she's a single mom. I was raised by a single mom. Like, she should be making more money. It should be more about how much money she can make, how we can help her grow, not how much she's going to monetize, how she's going to monetize for the brokerage. And so that was really, it was one of the major catalysts for us. Like, we're going to go do our own thing. Our vision is different than what's here. And again, still at this time, we didn't understand teams and mega teams and all that. We just knew we wanted to do something different. And I'm not good at being told I can't do something. And so when we were told we couldn't do something, I thought, well, the hell with that. Yeah. We're going to go do our own thing, and we're going to start our own brokerage. And it's just snowballed. There's a lot of, it's super gratifying and humbling and just everything you can imagine to see agents come in and be struggling, just need somebody. There was a time in my life where all I needed was somebody to believe in me. And so, you know, for the rest of my life, I just want to be that for somebody. Right. And
there it is. There it is. I think that's such a beautiful thing, because seeing all that you went through to get to where you are, and now what you want to do is give back. And that, I believe, is why you are blessed and why you're growing, because that root at the root of it, your heart wanting to serve others, wanting to bless others, wanting to help someone else, give them that second chance that you were given. That is, I think, where people see that, they feel that, they know that you're not just wanting that paycheck, right?
Sure.
And you don't see them as numbers, and you see them as people that you want to help and contribute and help grow. I love that so much, that you wanted to help that single mom. I was that single mom at one point, and I wish somebody would have been there to say, hey, Rebecca, you need to be over here. But you know, God has a journey for everyone. And so I believe that He has brought me to where I am today. And so, you know, our story is different. And we journaled that through our book, Married in Real Estate. That book is available still for free at marriedinrealestate.com. But I love your story so much, and it impacts me a lot, because I think there's so many people who struggle, who need that second chance in life. Real estate is one of those things that can give you that second chance. It's so frustrating when you're, you know, applying for corporate jobs. You have to get that background check, and those things that haunt you from your past that no longer represent you are still creeping up and disturb your life, that it keeps you from growing and being able to provide for your family. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that you've been able to grow from it, and now you're helping other people do it as well.
Yeah, and it's important that, you know, I love that what you just touched on, Chris, is because real estate to you right now is a vehicle of where you want to go and what do you want to get back. Amazing, man. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
This conversation could go on and on, man. We gotta bring you guys back on the show. That's amazing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, wow.
Yeah, so much to touch on.
We could do a whole series.
There.
Yeah. We got a lot.
So what's next for you guys?
Taylor?
No more kids, that's for sure. I can say that with confidence. Definitely no more kids.
How many kids do you have? Two?
We have 2 daughters. They're 5 and 3.
Okay. Awesome.
And so we're just not getting to a place where no more diapers. Everyone can eat regular food. We can, you know, travel pretty easily and things like that. I think really what's next for us is, you know, we're going to keep the blinders on with growing our team, growing some ancillary services that Chris is always working on. You know, we're really focused on our visionary and integrator role within our business. Chris and I bring a whole different set of skills to the table. And so we have really focused, I would say, like in the last 6 months on, okay, how do we come and work together, respect boundaries, and grow this thing exponentially? And, you know, we're going to keep doing that. Our agents are doing amazing. It's awesome. You know, Chris was mentioning it earlier. Like, we just started this thing with when he and I were first, working together, we realized that lenders, inspectors, there were so many people involved in these transactions, and we had no control over our customers' experience. And so to be able to take those challenges up front and get our hands in there and provide those same experiences to, new processes, trainings, all that to our team now, we're going to keep doing that. And I'm sure Chris has some things in his head that he's up to that maybe I don't know about yet. That's the real husband and wife thing when you work together. But yeah, our real estate team, like you mentioned, it's the vehicle for everything else. It's our mothership, right? For everything else that we want to do from, personally and professionally. So we're going to keep building this thing strong.
We're going to create 100 millionaires. That's the goal. So, yeah, that's the goal. We're going to continue to grow our real estate team. That's the number one focus for us. All the other stuff, is going to grow by virtue of that. We want to take people and create financial freedom for them and show them, both of us have experienced life at its worst. Right now, for us, it's the best it's ever been, and it feels pretty damn good. And I want other people to experience that, and so create 100 millionaires through real estate, through our investment opportunities with our realtors, with our team members, and continue to grow that. We got, a book we're working on. We're working on Taylor's got a little podcast, little brand she's putting together, pretty exciting. We're just taking the next step as entrepreneurs and as a brand, if you will, as individuals and collectively. Your team will never outgrow its leader, right? And so for us, we're going to continue to grow and continue to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone so that we can create a platform and a place for our people to do the same. So that's what the focus is right now.
I love that, Chris. That's the legacy you want to leave your people, man. That means a lot to hear that, because that's the purpose of why we do it every day, why we get up every day, why that drives us every day. Because I can tell you that right now, that's what I'm driven by. I'm driven by building more leaders. That's what matters to me.
That's it, man. That's it.
And you're that visionary leader for them. But what do you do to continue working on yourself, building yourself? And what is there a process that you do daily, or things that you plug into to stay, in touch, connected, or educated?
I mean, yeah. So we read every day. I listen to podcasts every day. Work out every day. We mind our food. I track all my food and my intake. And so very big on health, very big on taking care of our mind. Taylor and I are part of a high level mastermind group based out of Dallas. We spend a lot of time. We made some really impactful relationships with people that really push us to want to be better and do better. It's one of those things where in order to hang out in this circle, you've got to live a life a certain way. And it motivates you to, when you want to be lazy or when you want to cut corners, it really motivates you to push harder. And so, the whole, our schedules are time blocked to where we wake up at 5 a.m. and we work out and we read and we do all these things. But the reality of it is, when your 3-year-old standing at the top of the stairs and she's yelling, your workout might be cut short. So the days don't always look like our calendar wants them to, but we're very intentional about making sure we knock those things out. And I'm sure Taylor has some stuff to add to that. But
Yep, he covered it.
Boom.
What was that?
I said he covered it.
Well, he talked about his self-care, working out and everything. What do you do for you?
Get those nails done.
Chris would say I get my nails done. I go get my hair done. Yeah. So for me, I love to work out as well. Chris and I, we like to work out together when we can. We make time on Fridays, we spend one-on-one time together because, date nights are hard to come by right now with the kids the way that they are. But really for me, my self-care looks different all the time. I like to read, I like to work out. I really enjoy, self-care for me is being able to show up 100% at whatever I want to do in that moment. So whether it's being at work and being a leader, I want to be 100% there being a leader, because those are all things that are, work is important to me. Being a mom is important to me. Being a wife is important to me. Having good health is important to me. So whenever I'm making time for those things, I just like to show up 100%. And that's how I really fill my cup back up, is by, committing to that. and this network that we're a part of as well. I mean, it's been life changing for me to connect with people who genuinely just want me to win, you know, and are here for me. So
you guys are super busy. You got a young family that you're raising, your relationship, working together, 100+ transactions, have a team. How are you balancing it? What time do you shut it off? Do you have trouble shutting it off at the end of the day and getting that personal time together?
So personal time, we do Fridays. We stop working usually by 12 o'clock on Fridays, and we take the rest of the afternoon together. And whether that's, you know, doing personal stuff that we might like, maybe like a finance review, or we might go to lunch. We might go, like last Friday, we went to lunch, we went shopping. We just do the things that we have to do, but we have fun while we're doing it. So that's personal time on Fridays. We'll sneak in some one-on-one like date night time or vacation time when we can have, you know, care set up for the kids. But we just kind of let go of that expectation of like date night, right? We do date days. We say like we live a life by design, so we just make whatever happen that we need to. And as far as balance, I don't think Chris or I believe in balance. We believe in like intentional imbalance, right? So whatever is getting our attention and is taking away from other things that are important in our lives, like we better be 100% showing up and making the most of that time. Like if Chris is going to have to work late, or I'm going to have to go here and it's taking time from our family, like it needs to be something that's a serious commitment for us. But I don't think we've ever had a time where things are balanced, so to say. We're just intentional on spending our time wisely whenever we're committed to whatever it is that we're doing. But we have a hard time turning things off as well. That's something that we've really been working on lately. You know, the girls are getting older, so our dinner time conversations need to not be about the transactions that are going crazy or the agent that's coming or going or whatever, right? The girls, you know, they're going to school, they're doing artwork, there's, you know, having little events, and we need to be talking to them about their days. And that's something that we're currently kind of working through, because it's just been brought to our attention. We're like, our 5-year-old is, you know, like, why are we talking about work or real estate? Or she's picking up things that we're saying, and we're like, oh, okay, we should.
You know what? Yeah. Honestly, Taylor, I know what you. That sounds so familiar for what we've gone through the same thing. I think honestly, just a heads up. You know what? Maybe put her. We have to try to be more supportive.
Of their
parents
dreams or their goals,
of their dreams and goals. You know what?
Yeah.
Bring her, get her involved. Show her a little bit about what it takes to be that. And you know what else? Just a piece of advice. If she's in, if you put her in like gymnastics or something, man, that's your that's both of your times with her. Those are the times they're gonna remember. Honestly, you know.
Yeah. Our 5-year-old tells me that she wants to be an entrepreneur when she grows up. So that's kind of
cool. That.
You know, but to Taylor's point, you know, on the weekends, you know, during the week, it's very much structured, right? It's waking up, working out, getting ready for school, having breakfast, going to school, dropping off, coming home. Yeah. We're going through the process. But on the weekends, we always do stuff with them. We make it intentional, take them, whatever, you know, this season right now, you know, it's fall. So we took, you know, went to the pumpkin patch, and we do a lot of stuff with them. And we take vacations with them. So, you know, for the Build conference in Dallas, we took our girls with us. And the cool thing is, you know, that stuff wasn't until the afternoon. So we took them to the water park at the hotel. We do stuff with them. We, you know, we'll take a 2-week ski trip. So we did that, you know, this year. We're going to do it again in 2022, where we go out west for 2 weeks, and we turn our phones off for all intents and purposes, and we're hanging out with our girls. And we, you know, flew my mom out and Taylor's family, and we go skiing, and we focus on our family. We're all in on our family.
That's beautiful, man.
Like 90-day sprints of work, and then taking a week or 2 off where we're just focused on the girls and creating experiences together. So,
that's what matters the most.
Yeah.
Is creating those memories. That's what we've worked towards, right? So we are building this life, creating this life by design, all this work that you're doing to be able to provide for your family, to give them the lifestyle that you want, to be able to create those memories and take them out on those vacations and skiing and everything else. It all comes together that way. And of course, creating that wealth that will help you for generations to come. So such a beautiful thing, you know. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, once again, thank you guys so much, man, for taking this time. I know you guys are super busy, man, just for being part of this Married to Real Estate show and podcast, man. Looking forward to the next one. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week and spending some
Yeah,
time
we'll see you next week too.
for sure, man.
We really appreciate you guys asking us to come on. You know, it was awesome. We knew who you guys were. We know where you guys are, right in our backyard, and with the book you guys have and everything, like we knew who you were. So it was awesome to finally get to meet you at that event. Probably 4 or 5 months ago now.
Yeah.
And then now, be on your show. It's an honor. You guys are awesome, and paving the way for other couples, and to show that it's possible and you can be happy and in the same room, and everything else. So,
And listen, and I am equally honored and excited about meeting you guys, hearing about your story. I love being able to share with other people, that you can have, the trouble past that you had and bounce back from that and create a beautiful life. It is possible. It's all what we think up here, right? It's a decision of the mind, and surrounding ourselves with people who are going to be supportive to help us in that transition. And so I am inspired by you guys. I'm a fan of you. I love what you guys are doing, and of course, any opportunity to collaborate, I'm all in. I'm excited to see you guys in Vegas. You guys are going to Vegas.
Likewise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Taylor, you mentioned that it's your first time going out to Vegas. I know you're going to have an amazing time out there. And so we're hoping that we can do something between couples while we're there together as well. So
Definitely make it happen.
yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing with us, guys.
Of course, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
We look forward to seeing you guys again, perhaps on another episode, another time. And so have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.